Hey guys, it's ToasterCorgiGaming, and in this video I'm going to be attempting a hardcore Nuzlocke of pokemonViolet with only cats. Now in a Nuzlocke run, if a Pokemon faints, it's permanently dead and we're not allowed to catch any legendaries at all. So sadly, we have no access to the Sabertooth Snownoodle. So sorry buddy. And we're only allowed to catch the first viable encounter in each area. But since we have so few options to use, that rule won't really matter here. The rest of the rules are shown here and in the description box below. I'll be taking on every boss battle in level order, hoping to reach the end of the game's final challenge against AI Professor Turo. And with that all being said, our adventure begins. We start off our adventure as the great leader, Mr. Tinkles, and our first recruit is our little Sprigatito named Timmy. Welcome aboard, little buddy. Our first real battle against our rival Nemona went smoothly as Timmy easily took down both her starter and her terrestrialized Palmy. As we then head over to South Province Area 3, where we find ourselves a Shinx with Intimidate, who we immediately catch and name her Blue Star. And after a bit of training, she quickly evolves into a Luxio. And we'll need that boost for our first gym battle against Katie and her bug types. Unfortunately for her, though, we taught Blue Star the TM for Fire Fang, which makes quick work of both her Nimble and Tarantula, but her Ace Teddiursa just survives in the red as her Fury Cutter literally cuts us in half. But a second Fire Fang is enough to earn us the kill and our first gym badge. And with that victory, we catch ourselves a Litleo, who we name Firestar, and evolve our Timmy into a Florigato just in time to take on our first Titan Pokemon, Cloth. Which thankfully we've got Arven to help out as we set up with a Hone Claws, as Cloth wastes a turn blocking our switch with Block, as he tanks a Water Gun. Which we then take the time to terrestrialize and put off a super effective leafage to leave Cloth just in the red as we proc its Anger Shell, which he then uses the power boost to take us down to half with a Vice Grip as Arven's follow-up Water Gun takes down our first Titan. But our victory is short-lived as up next is the Grass-type gym leader Brassius. He starts off with a Petalil while Firestar gets to make her grand debut. But since we started the battle in the rain, our fire attacks are a bit weaker, so we have to start with a workup to boost our attack and special attack while we get put to sleep from a sleep powder. We then get to spend the next 2 turns asleep and tanking Mega Drains while our held leftovers heals us a little bit each turn. But on turn 4 we finally wake up to land a +1 Ember, dropping Petalil to just below half, and we get the lucky burn as a follow-up Mega Drain does minor damage. Then a second Ember is enough to take out the annoying Weed as Brassius sends out a Smoliv, which we go for another +1 Ember and get the lucky crit for the one-shot as our leftovers heals us up to almost full, leaving only his Terra-type Pseudo-Wudo. We weaken his attack with a Noble Roar as he strangely goes for a Trailblaze for some pretty weak damage. As we then go for another Noble Roar, he again uses Trailblaze, but boosting himself to +2 speed, so we decide to change plans by using Ember, which takes about a quarter of his health, but he goes for a third Trailblaze, and at -2, it does next to nothing. At +3 speed though, he's able to outspeed us and finally uses a Rock Throw, but at -2, we survive at half health as an Ember leaves him at just a quarter. Taking a big risk, we choose to stay in to take another Rock Throw and survive on just 6 HP as Ember leaves him on just a sliver of health. So we swap out into Blue Star, whose Intimidate lowers the attack to -3, letting the incoming Rock Throw do little damage. And with the following Trailblaze hitting a little harder, 1 spark is enough to end this drawn-out battle, earning us our second gym badge. Our next challenge is the second Titan Pokemon, Bombardier. Now having Blue Star's Intimidate here was a huge help since we had 0 time in between fights to heal up, so a Pluck leaves us at just a third as a Spark takes the Titan Bird down to half health, as we luckily get the Paralysis. While Arven's Knackley uses a Smackdown, which gets a critical hit, leaving it just in the red. Afterwards, our leftovers heals us up, and the Paralysis is able to let us outspeed with a Spark, taking down our second Titan. But our celebration is short-lived since we now have to begin the game's third storyline as it starts off with a bang as we go against the boss of Team Star's Dark Crew Giacomo. The fight kicks off with his Pawniard versus our Firestar, who we manage to outspeed and with a single Ember leave just in the red as we tank a weak Aerial Ace. After a bit of leftovers healing, a second Ember is enough to take down his Living Cutlery, leaving only his Snarmobile, whose Intimidate doesn't really hurt us too bad. But sadly we can't outspeed it, and a Wicked Torque drops us to about half, as we use Noble Roar to drop its attack stats. Thanks to our leftovers and the stat drop, we managed to survive a second Wicked Torque on just 10 HP, while another Noble Roar drops his attack to -2. With our HP too low, we're forced to switch out into Blue Star, which drops the living car's attack to -3 thanks to our own Intimidate, letting us easily tank a Wicked Torque. So we terrestrialize to double electric, but still get outsped as another Wicked Torque takes us to just above half, as a double stab Spark only does a quarter. Giacomo then decides to use a Metal Sound, lowering our special defense to -2, as a second Spark gets him to just above half. A follow-up Snarl takes us down to just 15 HP, as a third Spark gets him down to a third. And with no healing, we're forced to switch out into Timmy, as he's able to easily brush off a Snarl, then ignore Metal Sound as we go for a super effective low sweep for the speed drop, as Giacomo lives just in the red. With our special defense at -2, we managed to walk off a Snarl just above half, as the final low sweep earns us our first star badge. But before we can take on the next gym leader, we have to deal with our rival Nimona, as she leads with her new Rock Ruff while we send in Timmy. Luckily this time we can outspeed it and get a one-shot with a Seed Bomb, as she then sends out her Pawmi, who suffers the same fate, leaving only her terrestrialized Quaxwell, who actually manages to survive a super effective Seed Bomb at just a quarter of her health, but she goes for a workup, letting us cook her Goose with a second Seed Bomb. Afterwards, we hunt down ourselves a Zangoose, and after he nearly one-shots Timmy, we quickly catch him and name him Tiger Claw. We then head back to Levincia to fight the Sharp-Toothed Streamer, Iono, and her electric types, starting with a Watch Roll as our new Tiger Claw goes live. We start off with a Belly Drum to max out our attack stat for half of our health, as we survive the incoming Pluck with 24 HP, as our held leftovers heals us for very little. And since we know we outspeed, Tiger Claw can start throwing hands with Slash to one-shot Iono's Watch Roll, her Belly Bolt, her Luxio after we terrestrialize through its Intimidate, and her Mismagius after surviving a Charge Beam on just 16 HP, earning Tiger Claw the title of MVP along with our third gym badge. Shortly after, we find and catch ourselves a Cantonian Meowth, who we name Bone, and an Eevee that we name Misty Star, as we immediately evolve her into a beautiful Vaporeon. And it's just in time that we get her, as we take them both to fight against the second boss of Team Star, Mela, and her fire types. We have Misty Star make her debut against her Torkoal, but her drought instantly puts us at a disadvantage, so we set up a Rain Dance to turn the tides, as Mela uses a Flame Wheel for laughable damage, but she manages to get the burn. So we angrily use Water Pulse, which gets the one-shot thanks to the Rain Boost, leaving only her angry Spitfire. We use the priority Baby Doll Eyes to lower its attack, but it ignores that by using Swift for minor damage, but her speed boost gets her to +1, so she's free to screech our defense to -2, while a Water Pulse drops her to just above half. We trade another Screech for Water Pulse, but she holds out into the red. Now with her speed at +3, we have to go for a risky play, starting with terrestrializing into a normal type and using priority Quick Attack for almost 0 damage, as she gets a critical hit Blazing Torque, dropping us to just 35 HP. And with our Rain Stop too, this isn't looking good. Afraid of missing the KO, we switch out into Blue Star, who lowers Revaroom's attack with Intimidate to -2, letting us tank the incoming Blazing Torque a lot better. But with one last Screech for Spark Trade, we end Mela's Joyride and a Fiery Crash to earn our second star badge. After that massive battle, we finally meet the tech support member Penny, who gets instantly slobbered by Miraidon, and after a bit of training, our Cantonian Meowth Bone evolves into a Regal Persian, as we have Firestar take on the third Titan Orthworm. We start off by terrestrializing and fire off an Ember to do a staggering amount of damage, as Orthworm sets up a Sandstorm, and get confused by Arven's Supersonic. So we just go for another Ember to KO the Big Derp, and easily earn our third Titan badge. Wasting no time at all, we head off to take down our next gym leader, only for him to... forcing us to chase him down and buy some funky seaweed, then get to have our Blue Star evolve into a mighty Luxray just in time to cook Kofu's Goose. With the first course being Blue Star vs Veluza, a single spark is enough to start the fish fry as he next sends in Wugtrio, who somehow outspeeds us for a weak headbutt as we try the newly taught Volt Switch, which not only one-shots the Wugtrio, but lets us freely switch out into Timmy as Kofu brings in Crabominable. We both terrestrialize, but Timmy, being fast on his feet, can outspeed and land the double stab Seed Bomb for the Oko, getting us some crab legs to go with our fourth gym badge. We then adventure to the Tag Tree Thicket to take on Team Star's third leader Atticus and his poison types. With Misty Star against his Skuntank, we try a new strat, avoiding Sucker Punch by using Calm Mind. We repeat this for the next 3 turns as we use 2 Calm Minds and Baby Doll Eyes. But it's then here that he finally lands a weakened Sucker Punch as we go for an attack, but he gets us to flinch. Atticus then gets even more toxic by using the said move, as we wash out the Skuntank with a +3 Surf. With his Muck, we use her new OP move Stored Power for an easy one-shot, and since we're now able to destroy anything that isn't a Dark type, we survive a regular Reverim's Bulldoze at just above half and promptly kill it, leaving only his Starmobile left, who also manages to outspeed us with a Noxious Torque, leaving us at just 48 HP. But just like the last two, one Stored Power, and as Misty Star alone earns us our 3rd Star Badge. After all that toxic nonsense, Penny shows up to pay us, only to get slobbered again, and in preparation for our next gym battle, Firestar evolves into a Pyroar, and our boy Timmy evolves into an epic Meowscarada, which we celebrate by getting some lunch, which... What did I just do? Looks like lunch is gonna have to wait till we beat Larry and his normies. He has Kamala with the early rise ability start off while Misty Star is looking hungry. We start our new strat with Calm Mind, which bores Larry as he yawns. We get off another Calm Mind and manage to dodge a Slam, but we fall asleep afterwards, with our held Lumberry perking us right up. We then land a +2 Surf, leaving Kamala to sleep 6 feet underwater, as Larry then calls out the worst evolution in Gen 9. So we use another Surf to wash out the garbage, but the Abomination lives on a sliver of HP. It then glares at us menacingly to paralyze us with fear, which slows us down enough for him to outspeed us with a Hyper Drill, doing almost half of our health. Thankfully, Misty Star lands another Surf to kill Nintendo's mistake, which Larry replaces with a much better Pokemon Staraptor, which he then terrestrializes and lands a powerful Facade, leaving us at just 37 health, but with one more Surf, it's bye-bye Birdie, earning us our 5th gym badge and some much-needed food. But we'll have to digest later, since Nemona challenges out of nowhere to another battle, only now she's leading her new Lycanroc while Misty Star is getting a little annoyed at her choice of animal. We hurt a fair bit thanks to the priority Accelerock while we set up a Calm Mind, as she then doubles down on Accelerock, with her Lycanroc failing to Doggy Paddle through a +1 Surf. Up next is her Pika clone, Palmo, which makes us actually have to think for once, as we strategically terrestrialize into Normal type, letting us take only 30 damage from a Spark, as we use another Calm Mind to get us to +2. Now knowing Spark's damage range, we take the risk, and survive on 34 HP as a Stored Power clears the Defibritu. We then one-shot her Gumi with a Surf thanks to a lucky crit, leaving only her new Quackable left, which, as usual, she terrestrializes, but goes for the Aqua Step, healing us back up to half as she survives a Stored Power with a 1/3 of her HP, as she then uses Air Slash for minuscule damage before falling to another Stored Power, thus ending this insane rival battle. So we then head to Montenevera and meet Moist Critical, witness a kid get smoked in a rap battle, then finally challenge the Ghost Gym leader Rhyme, the MC of RIP. She sends out Bayonet and Mimikyu while Blue Star and Timmy start off this special double battle. Timmy one-shots Bayonet with a Night Slash, while Blue Star brushes off a Slash and breaks Mimikyu's neck with Bite. Rhyme then calls out her Houndstone as the crowd gives us a damage boost for the knockout on Bayonet. So we keep the snowball rolling as we terrestrialize Timmy to pure grass and use another Night Slash to put her dog back down. As Mimikyu lands a weak slash on Timmy, Blue Star's Bite leaves the creepy imposter on a 3rd as she brings in her Toxtricity. But now we've got the crowd roaring as they give us a free Omni Boost. Rhyme then wakes the freaking dead while a puppy replaces the DJ, as she terrestrializes to a Ghost type. But it does nothing as a double stab always crits and never misses. Flower Trick is enough to silence her Toxtricity, and another Bite falls the Mimikyu, earning us our 6th gym badge. But before we can take on the next gym, Nemona challenges us again! And it's cats versus dogs with Timmy against her Lycanroc, who easily outspeeds and one-shots with Flower Trick. Up next is Sliggoo, who gets taken down by a critical hit Night Slash as she brings in her now fully evolved Pawmon. Knowing it's part fighting type, we terrestrialize to become pure grass and proceed to one-shot both her Defibritu and Quaxcavole with Flower Trick. Now will you please stop stalking us? After some crappy Simon Says, we take on the Psychic Gym leader Tulip. First up is our Farigiraf, which we have Misty Star use Acid Armor to get our defense to +2 so the incoming Zen Headbutt does only minor damage. We again Acid Armor up, but her second Zen Headbutt gets a critical hit, taking us down to half. Realizing our health's low, we use Aqua Ring to get some double healing in combination with our held leftovers, healing up all the damage from Zen Headbutt. A third Acid Armor makes our defense at +6. While still tanking Zen Headbutts, we then set up 3 Calm Minds, then go for a Baton Pass, which lets us switch out into Tiger Claw, who gets both all of our stat boosts and our Aqua Ring, so the incoming Zen Headbutt is almost non-existent. But we go one step further with a Belly Drum, maxing our defense for half of our health as Tulip sets up a Reflect, sensing the pain about to come her way. We go for a D-Tech to stall a Reflect turn, and get a little more healing in before we nuke the Farigiraf with a super effective +6 X-Scissor, which gets the crit. With our Gardevoir up next, we Detect again to burn another Reflect turn, then on the last turn of Reflect we use the X-Scissor for a clean one-shot. Her Espathra manages to outspeed us with a Psychic, dealing about 30 damage, but another X-Scissor makes quick work of her, leaving only her terrestrialized Florges left to get cut down by X-Scissor, granting us our 7th gym badge. Only one more to go. After meeting the youngest Elite Four in history, we then head back to school to take a lot of classes and tests to earn ourselves our newest teammate, a Galarian Meowth that we named Scourge. Then head out to the desert to fight the 4th Titan, a robot Donphan? We tried to go for our usual setup with Misty Star, but we somehow get outsped as it uses a knockoff on Arven's Scovillain, who bites back with a Fire Fang and gets the burn as we use Aqua Ring. And everything after that is just dumb on our part since Arven literally does all the damage while we waste time buffing up, only to Baton Pass into Firestar to steal the killing blow with a Flamethrower. So, oops, I guess? But shortly after that disappointment, we find this bugged out little Robo-Donphan that we can't interact with for some reason. After that weird encounter, we then go on a massive slip and slide to be allowed to fight the last gym leader.
Hello!
I mean the real gym leader, Grusha and his ice types. He leads with a Frostmoth as Misty Star takes the lead, which we set up Aqua Ring as his Bug Buzz hits us pretty hard, but our double healing immediately starts putting in work. Since Frostmoth's a special attacker, we use Calm Mind as Grusha goes with Tailwind to boost his team's speed. And thanks to that boost, he's now able to outspeed us with a Bug Buzz as we Calm Mind once again, followed by another Bug Buzz and Calm Mind trade. Then he gets a critical hit on this Bug Buzz, dropping us down to just 66 health, as we Baton Pass out into Firestar, right as the Tailwind speed boost ends. Which means we can Terrestrialize to double fire, and with Flamethrower at +3, we get to burn down his entire team, securing our 8th and final gym badge. After some more training, Scourge evolves into Berserker, and his timing couldn't be better as we'll need him to take down the fairy Pokemon of Team Star's Ortega. Up first is his Rabbit Azumarill, but our boy Timmy instantly OHKOs it with a Flower Trick, making Ortega send in Wigglytuff, who survives a Flower Trick in the red, but just uses a Charm. Since our attack is now -2, we switch out into Scourge, who takes almost no damage from a Gyro Ball, as Ortega then brags about dealing a massive 5 damage. But an Iron Head is enough to finish off his weird Rabbit Marshmallow, for him to then bring in a Darkspun, who uses Priority Baby Doll Eyes to drop our attack to -1, which only leaves him on a 3rd after an Iron Head. But after tanking a Crunch, we finish off the dog with another Iron Head, leaving only his Snarmobile left. We Terrestrialize Scourge to tank a Steel Roller for moderate damage, while our double stab Iron Head drops him by a 3rd. We then get outsped and confused by Confuse Ray, but we power through it for a Hone Claws. Ortega then uses Magical Torque for weak damage, but we break free of confusion and set up a second Hone Claws. We then get confused again, but like before, Scourge breaks through it with a +2 Iron Head for the KO, getting us our 4th star badge. Then Penny shows up to get slobbered again. You really think she'd learn by now? But she can't dry off just yet, cause we're off to Casseroya Lake to fight the final Titan, Dondozo, who runs off after only 2 Flower Tricks, and after eating some steroid weed, it's time for round 2. We immediately Terrestrialize and halve its HP with a single Flower Trick, then fry the fish with a second. But the battle still isn't over, since we have to fight the true Titan. And 2 Play Roughs is enough to bring it into the yellow, but an Icy Wind drops us to half health. But thanks to a takedown from Arven, its health is just low enough to finish off with 1 final Play Rough, earning our final Titan badge. Just 1 more badge to go. And that badge is from the hot heavy hitter Aerie of Team Star and her fighting types. The first round is Misty Star versus Toxicroak, which we spend the first 3 turns using Acid Armor while taking minor damage from Poison Jab. which we then use Aqua Ring to start healing as Aries' 4th poison jab drops us to almost half health. But thankfully our held Covert Cloak prevents us from getting poisoned, as we then set up 3 Calm Minds and use all of our stored power to ruin this waifu's whole career.
Boom, bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.
Which easily earns us our last star badge. But now it's time to take down the true leader of Team Star, Director Clavel. Up first he sends in a Rangaroo while we start off with Misty Star. We set up a Calm Mind to counter our special attacks, but he annoyingly just uses Yawn. So we have to set up a Calm Mind before we are put to sleep, and stay asleep while tanking a Foul Play, followed by 2 Dream Eaters. Once we finally wake up, we set up our Aqua Ring for double healing, while tanking a Foul Play, bringing us to almost half health. We got back to using Calm Mind, getting our special stats to +3, while Clavel sets up a Reflect, as we then use stored power to cut his HP in half, as he lands another Yawn. So we use Acid Armor to survive a weak Foul Play, but fall asleep shortly after. We then stay asleep through 2 more Dream Eaters, then wake back up to use Acid Armor, avoiding a 3rd. But 1 more Acid Armor gets our defense maxed to +6, while enduring a 3rd Yawn, but we finally managed to take down his Sage Ape with a stored power while falling asleep again, as he brings out Abomasnow, who sets up Hail with Snow Warning. So fearing the grass attacks, we terrestrialize to normal, only to get outsmarted by him using Aurora Veil, then using Blizzard for minor damage. As we then wake up to land a stored power, OHKOing his Abomasnow, his Gyarados, Amoonguss, Poltegeist, and his starter Skeledirge. And with our Headmaster beaten, we're finally able to challenge the Pokemon League. The first Elite Four in this gauntlet is Rika with her ground types. She starts off with a Whiscash while Scourge is itching for a battle. Now I know you're all thinking I'm crazy for starting with this type matchup, but don't worry, we have a plan. Thanks to our held Air Balloon, we're immune to ground attacks, so Rika goes for a Muddy Water, which does a fair amount of damage thanks to our balloon popping, but we set up our Stealth Rocks, then switch out into Misty Star, baiting a weak Earth Power that gets the special defense drop. We spend the next 6 turns trading Calm Mind and Earth Power while healing up with our held leftovers until our special attack is maxed at +6 and our special defense is at +5. We then let Misty Star go on an OHKO spree with Ice Beam on Rika's Whiscash, her Dawn Fan thanks to our Stealth Rocks breaking it sturdy, her Dugtrio after it sets up a Sandstorm, her Camerupt, and finally her Clodsire. That's 1 down. Next up is... They really weren't kidding, huh? Well, it looks like the little munchkin Poppy is indeed an Elite Four member. And with her starting Pokemon being Caparaja, it means Scourge is out to fight fire with fire, or in this case steel with steel. With our Air Balloon again giving us immunity to ground attacks, we set up a Stealth Rocks as Poppy's Raja uses a Stealth Rocks of her own. So we swap out into Misty Star, and with the Sharp Rocks and Heavy Slam, we're sitting at almost half health. But our leftovers helps us out. So we use Acid Armor since Raja uses physical attacks, and as it hits us with a Play Rough dropping us back down to half health, we then set off another Acid Armor and manage to dodge a second Play Rough, as a 3rd Acid Armor gets our defense maxed out. Raja's Play Rough now only does about 20 damage. Which means we're free to set up 3 Calm Minds, then use Baton Pass to let Firestar come out and play, as both the Sharp Rocks and incoming Play Rough do almost nothing. But what's not nothing is Firestar's damage with Flamethrower, getting the easy OHKO on Raja, Poppy's Bronzong, her Corviknight, and her Magnezone thanks to our Stealth Rocks breaking it sturdy, leaving only her Tinkaton. You've gotta be kidding me! Obvious League of Legends reference aside, 1 Flamethrower is enough to take down the phony Hammer Swinger and the 2nd of the Elite Four. And who's on 3rd? Nope, it's Larry! Only now, he's using Flying-type Pokemon, as his Tropius is first to leave the nest, but Misty Star won't make it easy, as she starts with a Calm Mind while the Flying Banana Tree tries to set up a Solar Beam, but he doesn't get to use it since a single +1 Ice Beam is enough to make him split, making Larry bring out his Staraptor, who like birds of a feather, fall to Ice Beam together, along with his Altaria, Oricorio, and his Ace Flamingo. Larry just can't catch a break, huh? So while Larry goes to sulk in a corner, we immediately go against the last of the Elite Four, Haxel. And round 1 is Misty Star vs Noivern. Now we do get outsped, but thankfully he misses his Super Fang as we can use Calm Mind. But sadly, we don't get to dodge the second Super Fang as another Calm Mind gets our special stats to both +2. And after tanking a Hyper Voice, we OHKO his Flying Stereo with an Ice Beam, along with his Dragalge, his Flapple, and his Haxorus, leaving only his ace Baxcalibur, who gets outsped in one shot by a critical Ice Beam, defeating the last of the Elite Four. Which means we can finally take on the champion Geeta. Now her first Pokemon, Espathra, makes it to where we can't use any of our stat boosts or else she gets boosted as well. So instead we lead with Timmy to use U-Turn, leaving her just in the red as we fall back on Misty Star as Geeta sets up a Reflect boosting their defense. We then get outsped by a Lumina Crash for moderate damage, but our special defense is now at -2, so we go for an Acid Armor since they have no physical attacks. Geeta then lands a much harder hitting Lumina Crash that drops us to just 92 HP as we take down the weird bird with an Ice Beam. Up next is our Go-Goat, which tanks an Ice Beam to about a third, but we unbelievably get the freeze. Let's go! Not taking any risks, we take down her Goat Sickle with a second Ice Beam as her Reflect goes down as she brings in her Avalugg. So we use a second Acid Armor to get our defense to +4, letting us tank only 30 damage from Body Press as our leftovers heals us to half health. So we max out our defense with a third Acid Armor as Avaluggs attacked us absolutely nothing. Then use 4 Calm Minds while tanking Body Presses to get our special attack to +4. Next we finally do Baton Pass to switch out into Timmy, who tanks in the incoming Body Press with ease thanks to our previous buffs. As he then uses his new move Aura Sphere to one-shot and sink Geeta's Titanic Iceberg, as her Veluza falls to a Flower Trick, her King Gambit's dethroned by Aura Sphere, leaving only her final Pokemon Glamora. As we both terrestrialize for the final showdown, Timmy, the legend he is, easily outspeeds her and takes her ace down in a single Flower Trick, taking out Geeta and earning us our title of Pokemon Champion. But our adventure isn't over yet since we still have to take down our 3 rivals, and the first one up is Arven. He starts off with a chonky Greedent, while Scourge is ready to go as we start with Fake Out to get some free chip damage in while flinching the Greedent. Scourge then goes for a strong Iron Head, but the Greedent holds on with a quarter of his health and does some weak damage with a Body Slam, but he gets the paralysis. Lucky me! Knowing we'll survive a hit, we test out our speed by setting up Stealth Rocks as the incoming Earthquake takes us down to half. One more Iron Head is enough to finish off his Fat Rat as he then brings out Scovillain, which we switch out in on the incoming Fire Blast into Misty Star, which gets the crit, but thankfully no burn. So we strategically terrestrialize to normal and use Calm Mind, letting us tank the incoming Energy Ball a lot better. We then set up another Calm Mind as another Fire Blast takes us to just above half, as a third Calm Mind gets us to +3, and a Crunch brings us into the yellow. Feeling confident, we go for an Ice Beam, which luckily kills the two-headed Pepper, as he then brings in a Minecraft Salt Pile. Thinking we're too low on health, we Baton Pass out in Timmy, while Garganacl uses Stealth Rock. But we pay it no mind, as an Aura Sphere leaves him just in the red! Are you serious? Arven then hits us back with a Body Press, taking 3/4 of our health, but another Aura Sphere is enough to get the KO. Up next is a stupid-looking Toedscruel, who tanks an Aura Sphere to just half, while its Power Whip leaves us dangerously low at 39 HP. This ain't looking good. So we risk it with a Play Rough and luckily come out on top, as he sends in Cloyster, who falls to an Aura Sphere, leaving only his faithful dog Mapplestiff left, and its Intimidate proves a problem, but he foolishly terrestrializes to Dark, letting our Aura Sphere guarantee a one-shot, putting his dog back on Death's Door. Nice ownership, man. With Arven down, we then head back to school to take on the real leader of Team Star, Penny. She leads with Umbreon while we start off with Scourge using Fake Out for free damage and a flinch, but she then gets to outspeed us on the next turn with Dark Pulse for moderate damage while our Iron Head brings her down to half. Another Dark Pulse from her takes us down to half health as we set up a Stealth Rocks, as Penny then hits us with Priority Baby Doll Eyes, dropping our attack to -1, but a lucky crit on our Iron Head takes down her first evolution, as she then brings out Flareon. And with a fire attack definitely incoming, we switch out into Misty Star to tank the Flare Blitz, as it's now a battle of the Eevees. So we go for Calm Mind while another Flare Blitz takes us to half health, so we then decide to Acid Armor up to lessen the incoming damage from a second Flare Blitz. Then with another Calm Mind after Priority Baby Doll Eyes, we take a third Calm Mind and Flare Blitz trade, leaving us at just under half, but we risk going for a fourth as Penny's Flare Blitz drops us to 91 HP and her health down to 1/4. Still needlessly risking it all, we Acid Armor, getting our defense to +4 after falling for another Baby Doll Eyes. Then go for the Baton Pass into Firestar, who doesn't tank the Flare Blitz as well as I had hoped due to a critical hit, but Penny just uses a priority quick attack for almost no damage, while Firestar's Hyper Voice ends the firefight, as she then brings out her own Vaporeon, but it too falls to a Hyper Voice, along with her Jolteon, her Leafeon to a Flamethrower, and her Ace Sylveon to a Hyper Voice, officially ending Team Star for good. After recuperating, we head back to the town square to take down our true rival, Nemona. And again, it's cats versus dogs here with Misty Star against Lycanroc. As Lycanroc outspeeds with the Stealth Rock, as we misclick Ice Beam, and it drops it down to half HP. But we luckily managed to dodge 2 Stone Edges for 2 Acid Armors, but Nemona then learns to use a more accurate move, Drill Run, for weak damage, as we use our final Acid Armor, maxing our defense. But then she goes right back to Stone Edge, which gets a critical hit, leaving us at just 95 HP, but her strategy continues with Calm Minds, as her following 2 Stone Edges do weak damage and straight up miss. We then brush off a Drill Run for our 4th Calm Mind, but our next Drill Run crits again, leaving us with only 13 HP, as we use the Baton Pass to switch into Timmy, who pays no mind to Stealth Rock, and with a priority Excel Rock, Nemona only chips us for a tiny bit, while our return Flower Trick OHKOs her Rock Dog, which shocks Nemona not once but twice. And up next is her electric fighting Pika clone Pawmot, which we respond by terrestrializing to lose our Dark type and get another OHKO with a Play Rough, stopping the heart of her Defibrichew, sending in her Goodra next, as we go for another Play Rough, but the squishy dragon survives just in the red as it hits us with a double super effective Sludge Bomb. Thank Arceus for Misty Star's stat buffs. But a follow-up Play Rough is enough to slay the dragon, making her send out her 3-segmented Dunsparce, who manages to survive an Aura Sphere just in the red as a Hyper Drill does minor damage. What's with my luck this fight? Thankfully, another Aura Sphere is enough to take out her failed Nintendo design and her Derp Worm, leaving only her starter Quackable left, which she terrestrializes but isn't fast enough to outrun Timmy's Flower Trick, one-shotting her ace and ending our greatest rival battle. Now, before we decided to fight the final boss, we decided to prepare ourselves by catching an Espeon, who we named Soul. And after a quick training montage, we go to finally take on AI Turo and his team of Paradox Pokémon. He sends in his Iron Moth while Misty Star begins her final battle, as she immediately terrestrializes to normal to better tank the incoming discharge while setting up a Calm Mind. Misty Star is then able to tank a Sludge Wave to get off a second Calm Mind, then we have her use Aqua Ring to get a little healing going. Our held Covert Cloak prevents us from getting poisoned as we spend the next 2 turns trading Sludge Waves for Calm Minds, until we finally use the last Baton Pass of the run with 68 health left to let Soul make his debut and destroy the evil robot-infested future. As he's able to outspeed Iron Moth and one-shot it with a single Psychic, his Iron Juglius is shot down by Dazzling Gleam, both Iron Thorns and Iron Bundle are cut down by Magical Leaf, and Turo's Iron Hands hits us with a priority Fake Out for the flinch, but a single Psychic smacks it back to the scrap heap, leaving only his ace Pokemon, Iron Valiant. But even with its Quirk Drive, it's no match for one final Psychic, ending both Iron Valiant and our cat-only Nuzlocke with 0 deaths. And that's the end of the run, and I'm not gonna lie, there were times where I got worried I'd lose a teammate from one of those random crits, but I guess that's just one of the things you gotta play around in challenge runs like these. And I know I kinda relied on our Vaporeon quite a bit, maybe a bit too much, but I do find it strange how I labeled it as one of the weakest evolutions back in Gen 6, only to have it be the MVP of my team and open my eyes to her potential as what I'd consider to be one of the best Baton stat boosters you can get. Unfortunately, I may have to deal with how some on the internet will respond to not only me using it, but in a way that would be deemed as bad or improper, but at least I didn't Toxic Stall. But I digress. Though I would really appreciate it if all of you watching this video would please hit like and subscribe, since this video was started all the way back in January, which, doing everything else on this channel while working the 9 to 5 somewhat shows how long this took to make. So please, again, hit like and subscribe, and even drop a comment if you want me to do more Nuzlockes like this in the future, or as live streams. Or even if we should continue our rodent-only Nuzlocke stream. So do all that, and I will see you all in the next video. Ciao!
Suddenly you're nowhere to turn around and everything has changed. Looking for a way to work it out. I'm trying to find some peace to navigate.